Welcome back to Valencia. Ordinarily, at this stage of the tournament, if I said to you, Daishi, Mana and Vortex are all out of the tournament, you wouldn't be that surprised, perhaps. But if I told you a 14-year-old Italian had taken all three of them out, then perhaps you would. Welcome back to I have my own sideshow with me. Welcome back to DreamHack ZOWIE Valencia. It is a fantastic tournament. It was already fantastic. It just got even better. Thank you to our sponsors, of course, the ZOWIE, to Razer, G2A, and Monster Energy, Alienware, and Blizzard, of course. Do keep your tweets coming. We'd love to see what your reactions are to our last series as well, using the hashtags DHOpen and WCS. We're back with our panel right now, so let's break it down from the last series, which I have to say, amongst many series that have been amazing, Kev, this one might have topped them all.
Amazing to see somebody that's 14-year-old play like the European version of life pretty much in his prime, with just link counterattacks everywhere, being so incredibly active, showing great understanding of the game, and then above all being able to keep his head so incredibly calm in Game 5 while he's under so much pressure. Yeah, this is one of these things that, you know, you can throw out all the cliches, but I've got nothing other than the fact that that's just absolutely amazing to watch.
No Cristiano Ronaldo reference? I'm disappointed, Kev.
He's like I don't know.
No, you're going to give credit where credit is due.
Look at this kid, man. He's a star. He's already a star, and he's 14 years old. It's just so cool.
Yeah, youngest player ever to reach a WCS sanctioned quarterfinal, or a DreamHack quarterfinal for that matter as well. Absolutely incredible.
And honestly, when you watch his games, like, it just feels like it's a star in the making.
Look at the movement on the keyboard. It's absurd. Yeah. Like, we were checking it out at the end
of the
thing.
Sick. And he's like, oh.
Sue melted when she saw this.
So good. Yeah, cute.
I love that.
I think Sue instantly was like, I need children. I want children.
Like, what I love the most there is that you just see the gamer in him when he's just focused and he's playing his game. He's like, yeah, yeah. And then he turns the headset off and he goes back to being the 14-year-old kid. And he's like, I'm on camera.
It was kind of like that. Yeah, it was kind of like at the end of the game. It was like...
Yeah.
Wanted to celebrate, didn't celebrate. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Brilliant to see the next generation of StarCraft 2 players coming through as well. It's not alone either. There's a couple of them out there, and they are going to be absolutely huge over the next couple of years. Great to see him through to the round of 8 at the expense, unfortunately, of the former #1, foreigner #1, of course, Vortex as well. He leaves the tournament in the round of 16. Let's check in with the bracket and show you exactly where we are right now. We've played 5 series today already. Left-hand side of the page has been completed earlier on. TLO, sort of, Nurcio and Showtime all advancing to the quarterfinals, and Reina, Italian 14-year-old, into the last 8.
Just the fact that he's
DreamHack Open. I just have to keep repeating it because it's such an incredible feat to see. He will play the winner of Lilbow versus Snute, and just the fact that he's taken out Vortex, Mana, and Daishi in the last 3 rounds. Presumably, he doesn't care who he plays in the last 8. Hydra versus Neeb is next up after our next game. And then Stefano Marine Lord to finish us off. The schedule looks a little bit like this. As I said, we'll do Lilbow versus Snute next up, then Hydra Neeb, and finish off the evening. It's now gone to 10-10, which, again, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'll take bets on that. Stefano versus Marine Lord, final game.
I know what you were going to say, Roddy. Reiner is putting Italy back on the map. It's been a while, right?
Yeah, not just that, but the fact that we see an Italian in the top 8, it's been a long time. That he's 14 years old, that's amazing. But just the fact that he's Italian is already pretty amazing, because they haven't been super successful in RTS games over the last few years.
Yeah, it's true. And not only that, he's also the #1 ranked Italian player already.
Yeah, of course.
At 14.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
I'm the best player at StarCraft 2 in my country already, and I'm 14 years old. I mean, what does he say when he goes back to school? What does he say in the classroom?
Like, I beat some noobs?
Probably. Yeah, probably did. Okay, next up, we have a fantastic series to come next, because this one is going to be a bit of a battle between 2 players who at various moments in their career could rightly call themselves the best foreigner on planet Earth. But as we approach 2016, they're both in very different shape indeed. Lilbow versus Snute. It is the battle between 2 players who are at opposite ends of form right now, but for varying reasons. We'll start with the liquid man, Snute. Kev, in fine form right now.
Absolutely. He's been having a very, very consistent 2016. He's still looking for his championship. He hasn't secured any first-place finishes. The only Legacy of the Void tournament he won was towards the end of 2015, a kind of a random tournament in China. But he's been having a very good year. He's been solid. He's been consistent. It's just waiting for that crowning achievement.
Yeah, he's got his Team Liquid boys behind him, supporting him as well.
Marine not making himself comfortable.
I wasn't going to mention it, but then you know, I was thinking
the French have arrived.
In his trademark vest.
Tank top.
As it is, yeah, tank top, yeah, okay. He goes head-to-head with Lilbow, Marine Lord's French brother, as it were. And yeah, it's interesting, Todd, with Lilbow, because the year before last, 18 months ago, you just said this guy was headed for greatness in StarCraft 2. Where's he been?
Playing other games, like Overwatch, for
Letting
example.
justice rain from above.
And, I mean, you're absolutely right here. You know, when Lilbow took a second place in WCS, won another one, everybody was like, all right, well, I guess we've got a new best foreigner. He's going to be there for a long time. And he's probably going to keep on performing time after time. But no, actually, quite the opposite happens after that. Finally, a non-Korean made it to BlizzCon. Didn't really practice that much for it. He made the mistake of being a little bit too honest about it, which did him no favor with the audience when he got kind of crushed by Life 0-3 in the first round. So since that, he's kind of fallen off. He's been playing a lot of other games. He still has a bit of motivation, though, I feel, because obviously he wouldn't be attending these tournaments otherwise. And there's a few tournaments for which he practices, and this is one of them. I believe that he actually practiced quite a bit, or a decent amount, let's just say that, for this one, because at Home Story Cup, when I spoke to him, he said that for DreamHack, he was going to practice, because this was one of the tournaments that he thought he could do well in.
Pig, do you think he's the kind of player that we put in the same box as maybe a Vortex or maybe a Stefano, that can just leave the game alone for a little while and then come back and be really good at it?
I don't really see Lilbow as being that sort of player. I see him as being part of the second wave of StarCraft. I think he came up in a time where it was very hard to succeed, but he found that success nonetheless, and I think it was through grinding and hard work and many hours of practice, and that doesn't just leave you overnight, so he's no doubt still going to have a big backlog of talent and skill to draw on, but I think really what we're seeing is kind of a hard journey for him, going from the player, the entire foreign scene had their hopes on him, you know, carrying that torch to BlizzCon, and I think that's why there was such a big backlash when they felt like he didn't do the scene justice. And it's kind of funny to see him going up against Snute, who everyone sees as the opposite. He's the guy who's known as the most hardworking foreign player by far. He's been so consistent over the years. So you kind of end up with this kind of bad guy, good guy balance going on here.
Yeah, and also we've talked about his studiousness already and the fact that he might not be the most exciting Zerg to watch, but he's definitely effective, Kev.
Yeah, I do think we're going to see him be a lot more aggressive, though. Like, his ZvT can definitely be a little resident sleeper if you are neither a Zerg or a Terran player, because he sits back, then he's got Broodlords. He's like, hey, let's cross the middle of the map and win, you know? So, no, it's actually bizarre. Some of his games, his very first attack was at the 12-minute mark. Yeah. But obviously, that's an art in its own. However, ZvP, we're going to see a very different Snute. He's definitely going to try to punish Lilbow. Lilbow, on the other end, traditionally very, very aggressive as a Protoss player, so I believe this series is going to be fireworks. We're still on track to hit 38 games of StarCraft 2 today.
We are.
So let's see if this is going to be another 3-2, but in all honesty, I'd love to see Lilbow do well, but I don't see him take at least 2 maps here.
Yeah, I think we need an observer back to his post, so hopefully he'll be heading over there in a minute, and we can get into the game. Until then, though, let's get some predictions. Let's start with you, Kev. Which way is this going? Is it Snute with his ultra-defensive, perfect army set up, and eventually I'll go and kill him, or is it Lilbow with a little bit of a crazy strat, perhaps?
I think it's going to be a very solid all-around Snute, a little bit of aggression, a little bit of passive enough, and I would love to see Lilbow do well here, but if he takes more than one map, I'd be very surprised. So let's say 3-1 Snute, but could be 3-0.
Okay, Todd, that's very convincing.
Yeah, honestly, Lilbow, like, he's capable of throwing in a lot of crazy builds and, you know, some very good ones to win some maps, but the thing is, Snute completely expects that. And I think he's going to be very well prepared for that, so I'm going to have to go for Snute here with the 3-1.
Okay, so 2-3-1s for Snute. Are we going to get the full house?
Yeah. Okay. Lilbow might sneak a map. The only way Lilbow possibly wins this is if he goes completely away from his style. I don't think he's going to have put in enough practice to just depart from what he's known for. So I think he's going to sneak one map. That's it. Snoot's going to crush him otherwise.
All right, I like that. Very, very full of their convictions, the panel this time round. Not only have they all gone for Snute, but they've all said 3-1. Let's find out whether it happens or not as we head into Lilbow versus Snute with Rotterdam and Todd.
Thank you very much, Red Eye. Looking forward to this one. These two have a long-standing rivalry. Got there eventually.
It's been a long day, yo. Don't worry.
They played a lot of good games in the past, a lot of good series, but this time around we have a clear favorite, I think, in Snute. Let's see if Lilbow can put up a good fight or not.
The best foreigner of 2014 going up against the best foreigner of 2015. I like the way it sounds, but still in 2016, it's definitely, on paper, a one-sided affair. But let's see if we could be wrong at the analysis desk. It wouldn't be the first time this weekend. And maybe Lilbow is going to do a lot better than we expecting to do. However, PVZ has just not been his forte in Legacy of the Void, which is ironic because in Heart of the Swarm, that was the matchup where Lilbow truly started to separate himself from the rest of the European Protoss.
Yeah.
That Blinkstalker Sentry on. I mean, I know your French dreams were made of it.
Yeah, Legacy of the Void changed quite a bit. It's still possible to mix in some of these builds, but everybody got so much better against them. And the thing is, if you Snute here, you know that you're playing against a Lilbow who, you know, doesn't practice nearly as much as he used to. What can you really be afraid of? Obviously, you know, those builds here and there that he's going to be throwing in particular, I'm thinking, you know, 2 base all-ins, 3 base all-ins with minimal amount of probes and big aggressions. So this is mostly what he needs to look out for. Go the extra mile with the scouting. And Snute, actually, that was his biggest weakness for a long time. He wasn't scouting. Against Protoss, no overlords were being sent into the base of his opponent. He was going blind sports every single game. And I don't think that was a good thing. Nowadays, you will see him research pneumatized carapace from time to time, do a lot of scouting and just adapt very well.
I couldn't agree more with you, Johan. That's absolutely what I'm expecting from Lilbow as well. You know, that 2.5 to 3 base all-in where he's like 48, 52 probes. But Snute these days, he's so good with his scouting. He has Zerglings everywhere. He's super mobile with his units. His creep threat is excellent pretty much in every single matchup whenever he wants to. And above all, we are going to see Overlord speed being researched multiple times in this series. You know, don't be caught off guard by something silly as Oracles or Dark Templars, and then most of the time you should be fine here. As Norwegian Zerg spawning on the left top side of Apotheosis, it is Liquid's very own Snute.
Rocking that Zerg hoodie. Team Zerg. His opponent, he's got a pink keyboard and a fashion look. It's, of course, Millennium's Lilbow.
I was giggling a little bit when I saw Lilbow arrive here at the venue yesterday, because he was looking like a tourist. He was dressed in sandals. He had his socks high up. He had he had sunglasses on. Nice little comfortable T-shirt. It didn't look like the Lilbow that I normally see. You know, that shows up in his jeans and his gaming T-shirt. He looked like a tourist yesterday, but he's definitely not treating it as an easy trip, Jon.
It's all about being comfortable, Roddy. You know, Harstem actually, he was traveling as well with sandals, and I talked to him about it. He's like, you know what? MMA let me try his Crocs one time, and they were the most comfortable pair of shoes I ever wore in my life. So apparently it's all about being comfortable, right?
But BlizzCon deja vu over here, by the way, Johan. Lilbow is dropping a pilot and a gateway on the low ground. You mentioned it already a little bit. He wasn't ready to deal with the early aggressive openings from live at BlizzCon. Lilbow is going to sky the main base now, and he's going to say,
not again.
Not again. Last time this happened, I turned into a meme. Let's see if we can do something about it this time. What would you do right now, Johan, as Protoss? You get the Cyber Core, you get the Zealot. What do you Chrono Boost out afterwards? Mothership Core and Adept behind it?
Yeah, I think an Adept and Mothership Core just to be sure you're extra safe. And I think from there, just like keep on scouting as much as possible. I think if he's capable of realizing what's the follow-up here to the initial links and speeds, he's going to be quite all right in terms of, you know, going into the mid-game and all that. And I don't think that, I mean, Snute, having been scouted there's a big question of how much he commits to this. And he chooses to stop mining from the gas, and it's not going to go for any kind of drop here, it looks like. He's just going to go for the gold base, drone up. So far, Lilbow, the defense was good, but his Nexus definitely was slowed down a lot here because of this.
But look at the work account, 21 probes against 15 drones. Of course, there is a gold base behind it, so it's not the end of the world. We do see that evolution chamber go down.
It's gonna drop it.
Yep, I would love to see Lilbow, or excuse me, Snute just drop 8 to 10 Zerglings in the main base. Photon Overcharge will go down, only gets the single Zergling, but also get quite a bit of damage on the next one. It's very important that Lilbow keeps a Mothership Core and maybe an Adept in the main base, and then he can just defend the natural with the 2 Zealots that he has there, and then maybe one additional Adept. Come on, Lilbow, you got to be worried about this. You know what you scouted. Yeah, he has a unit over there as well on the right side. Very well done. Lilbow's playing solid so far, Jon.
Yeah. And I don't feel like we should be that surprised at the same time, but yeah.
I mean, last time I saw him face an early pull, thought it didn't go well.
Definitely, as you said, it kind of turned into a meme back then. Twilight Council here being made.
Zealot is going to spot it, right?
Yeah. How does he react, though, exactly? I
Just
guess
keep
he's
the
gonna
units
stand
there. Yeah, I think...
No pylon would be an overreaction, you think?
Yep, I think there's no way that Snute is going to try to do this. If he drops the links, a couple of them were going to get picked off immediately. Mothership Core should keep close to this Overlord, and then the Zealot should be able to pick him off one by one. This is very weird, because this happened right below the eyes of Lilbow. And a lot of the... it was perfect defense, wow.
If only BlizzCon had gone this way.
Yeah, I know. He would have been a legend instead of a meme.
Resonating Glaze behind this and double additional gateway. Remember, he's facing a gold-based Zerg here, so it's very encouraging to try to go for aggression. Usually, I always felt like this against gold-based. You need to play either very defensive, as in you will never attack and expand yourself, or keep on attacking a lot to try and do a lot of damage. Wow. Of course, there can be a middle ground, and in this case, it doesn't look like Lilbow, is going all in just yet with just the 3 gates. I wonder actually how he's going to follow this up. Like, obviously, he's going to whop in a lot of adepts and try and hit. But does he get a robo? And does he take a third base or not?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering about as well. I would like to see him actually just apply some pressure with, let's say, 6, 7 adepts with Resonating Glaze. You're going to force out a lot of units. Maybe you get a couple of drone kills, maybe not. But at least he will be able to keep Snute in check. And then he can always follow it up with whatever makes him feel comfortable. Maybe it's a big 2.5 base all in.
Such a good scout, by the way.
Yep, maybe Blink as a follow-up. We know that even though Blink Stalker and Sentries are not as good in this game as they were in Heart of the Swarm, Lilbow is still an absolute god with them. Like, he will never forget how to use that. I like the way that Lilbow's playing so far, and I'm very, very pleasantly surprised. I'm not saying that he's going to win this game for sure, but so far everything makes sense and it's good. It's
I wonder if he's going to commit here to this. He's going to go straight into the middle line, forces the drones here to be pulled away. By the way, Snute got that lair pretty quickly for a guy who opened with quick speed. And then behind this went for a gold base, so... I wonder what he wants to do with that. I guess maybe lurkers on this map would make sense. But if I'm Lilbow here, I let that transfer finish and I snipe a lot of drones in the natural.
Yep. Maybe leave 2 adepts over here. Nobody's going to let all of them finish, but he already got 4 drones done. He's going to scout the layer as well.
Roddy, walker count. 43 to 35, and he's going to kill even more. Going to transfer that straight into the main, going to kill more and more. Blink,
it's the
third base, and Forge.
I love it. I mean, I really feel that Lilbow's setting himself up over here for what he knows best. He did a lot of economic damage. He can follow this up with a big Blink timing, and this time it's very, very unlikely he would ever face lurkers or even a lot of Ravagers, because Snute is not supposed to have the money for that with the way that this game has played out so far.
Imagine how crazy it would be if Lilbow beats Snute there.
That's
when I'm happy, Kev.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I would be happy too. I mean, I love Lilbow, and I think I'm going to miss him. I've said it on multiple forums. Like, if he wants to start playing Overwatch competitively, I wish him all the best of luck. And he's given us great memories. But to see him perform super well over here, that would be great. Of course, it's always nice to see Snute do well, but we see Snute do well every single tournament.
Snute's always around. He's such a nice guy as well. Like, how can you not love both of these guys?
That's the problem with the StarCraft 2 team, man. We need a few extra douchebags, because I'm torn. It's like everybody's so nice. I don't know who to cheer for anymore.
Anyone needs to start playing tournaments again.
Oh, Johan is fine. He's a nice guy.
All right, Blink, +1, 2 more gates on the way, as well as the Hydra Den. And then I'm pretty sure it's going to be lurkers here, especially with the way things have opened and the fact that we're on this map. Dealing with lurkers on these bridges is really not that easy. You have to get disruptors. It almost feels like the only way, because whereas on most maps you could just get a lot of immortals, and charge lot and archons and all that. On this map, the same thing I feel applies a lot less, because attacking into the lurkers on these bridges is just too hard.
Yeah, but I don't think that he wants to go disruptors, though. I don't think he has to. I don't think it's something that he's that he really enjoys. Yeah. I think he's gearing up for that massive attack. He's got 60 probes. It's a few more than we predicted in the start of the game, but he was able to get there freely. He's got the sentries, War Prism halfway done. I mean, it's time for Lilbow to do what he does best, and that's attack with Blink Stalkers and sentries.
Actually, that's even his trademark build, where he doesn't take the 6 gas. So he doesn't take one of the gases on the third base. Yeah. Goes up to something like 8 gateways and then makes only stalkers from there. No more probes, only pylons and stalkers. Goes for the kill. And back then, he was able to be Snute quite a few times here with this build, remember? I think he was like on Overgrowth and all of these maps.
Absolutely. I mean, back then there were no lurkers. That's, of course, something that Snute is hoping for now. Even just 2 or 3 lurkers are going to make this very, very complicated. But can Lilbow do enough? Like, I think if Lilbow kills the gold base and he denies the fort, then he can always go back, drop another robo and go disruptors, right? That's completely fine. But he absolutely needs to do quite a bit, because he's delaying additional attack. This is it, Lilbow. Don't lose the War Prism to Corrosive Bowels or something silly like that. And I think he should be fine, because we know that his micro is still very good. I'm not sure if I'm digging those force fields, Johan.
Yeah.
That's multiple force fields for a couple Zerglings.
Wasting a bit of time. We saw Verdi with a similar attack earlier being successful.
3 lurkers are morphing.
That was on Frozen Temple, though.
Corrosive Bow is so good against
Could have
this.
linked forward here, I think, and sniped a lot of these Ravagers. They are the big threat to those sentries here, because this is buying a lot of time here for Snute. That
Lurkers.
retreating fire with the corrosive bile.
And lurkers are finishing up. 3 lurkers, I'm not sure where. There they come, and I think this is a little faster than Lilbow ever expected lurkers. There goes these 2 lurkers. Maybe he can just avoid them and fight on the left side of the hatchery, but the longer he waits, the better this will be for Snute.
Is there a wall? Is there a unit in the wall?
Yeah, 2 here. But that's it. A couple of depths.
Fire stars behind it.
He needs to go for defensive weapons. He really needs to weapon.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah, stay on the job.
1 sentry, I think is... What? No.
Oh, he could have gotten in, right? Like a final.
That was those are 2 very strange force fields, Johan.
Panic force fields.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very familiar with those. Every now and then you just feel like force fielding your full HP gateway instead of the low HP pylon. And the most surprising thing is that Snute backed up.
Force fielding my Archons. You know?
Snute is just like, you know, that looks very scary. That gateway has a force field on top of it. Let's run.
Lilbow is going to attack in 2 places, looks like. Look at the minimap. He's got 2 huge chunks of army.
He should be able to out-micro most of these things. There are no attack upgrades on these Zerglings, or armor for that matter. But
Yeah, well, he's not going to attack that place, let me tell you. The Mutas behind this, though.
I think Lilbow is probably pretty confused about
Pretty
how
scary.
on earth did he get lurkers out so fast. And
Yeah.
obviously Ravagers help so much, not just because Ravagers are strong units that do a lot of damage. But
It feels as if this was Heart of the Swarm, he would have won with
Yeah, of
just the
course.
attack, because there would have been no Ravager and Lurker. But now, because there's those 2 new units, this style from Lilbow is just so much weaker.
Yep.
He's still trying to make it work somehow, but there's just so many links there that he's going to be overwhelmed, I think.
it almost feels that Zerg is designed in a way to stop Lilbow in Legacy of the Void. Oh, corrosive balls are raining over these sentries and a couple of these adepts as well. The Stalkers are in a lot of trouble on the right side of the map. There are so many Zerglings. Once again, no upgrades on these links. If the Stalkers can keep running, they could win this fight, but they ain't running. A lot of them were surrounded, and these Zerglings are going to clean up all of these Stalkers,
I
Johan.
don't know, Kev. It's not looking all that good for Lilbow. He's still trying to find a good location here to attack into. Maybe force field some of this army away, but he's running out of energy here on a lot of those sentries.
Great job by Snute making the amount of Ravages that he did against that first push. All those corrosive balls forced the Stalkers to disengage over and over again. 8 Mutalisk are on the way now. And of course, Snute is looking solid as a rock with multiple lurkers, a lot of links, creep threat as well.
Cheap as duck.
Cheap as well, nothing cheap as duck about lurkers, thought.
Ravagers and Roaches, though.
And those are cheap as well. But they're the real deal as well.
Best race ever.
Well, corrosive ball still raining from above, and these Stalkers can just not win this fight. Lilbow's going to try to make something happen, maybe with a Warp Prism, but look at the amount of units that Snute has. Holy hell, where did he get all the money from? That's probably what Lilbow's wondering, but at the same time, Lilbow's like, gold bases. If there wasn't a gold base on this map, I don't think there's any way that Snute would have ever been able to get the amount of Ravages out and still tack to lurkers.
Would have been much harder, and Lilbow now faces a situation where he's going to be facing Mutas. There's a lot. What? He's committing to Mutas, actually.
Yeah, he's making...
Snute, I guess he's happy with the amount of lurkers and defensive units that he's got, so he's just going to mass Mutas here from there.
It's a very large map, so maybe he feels that if he forces Lilbow's Stalks to turn around and defend... I mean, this is very cute stuff that Lilbow's doing here. Oh, whoa, Snute stepping in his own ball, but yeah, Lilbow just knows you can't win this with Stalkers anymore. Lurkers and Ravagers and Zerglings. I don't know about
Look at Marinlord, he's smiling.
Yeah. He's like, what a race. Snute knows it as well. He's like, yeah, I'm guilty. What do you think he's trying to tell us?
I don't know.
Maybe a line of corrosive bow or the lurker? Lurker shot?
Bridge? We're terrible at this game.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is like a guessing game for the people at home as well. I'm lost. What I do know is that Snute has taken a 1-0 lead in this series, where in the start of the game it didn't really go all that well for a Norwegian Zerg, but he bounced back very well, and obviously he knew what to expect. Like Lilbow, even though he had a different opening, and I love the small attack with a couple of adepts early on, at the end of the day, Lilbow is going to fall back to
the
what he
composition
knows
was perfect,
best.
right? Perfect amount of Ravagers for the initial defense, perfect amount of lurkers, and then mass links because he knew that Lilbow was committing to Stalkers, and he maybe even anticipated this kind of attack here on the right-hand side, and so he had the mobility thanks to these links to go and actually surround this unit.
I love the use of corrosive bow as well. It's not just corrosive bow trying to do damage, it's forcing units back as well, buying time for the lurkers, and you know, if he wants to overextend, well, then you would step very, very deep into Zerg territory, and that's where you take the risk as being surrounded with all your stalkers and sentries, and that would be the end too. Solid game, won by Snute, even though it didn't start off the way that he would have probably hoped for. Lilbow showed us that he has learned quite a few things since BlizzCon. Unfortunately, Legacy of the Void against Snute is never an easy task, Todd.
Absolutely, yes. We're on Frozen Temple now for map number 2, and starting in the top left-hand side corner of the map, playing as the Red Zerg is of course Liquid, Snute, Skywalker.
He's been finding a lot more success lately in his ZvP, even though he would never be vocal about it. He will always say that he's struggling in the matchup. His results have definitely been going in the right direction if you are a fan of Snute. Can he continue his recent success against the beautiful race of Protoss? Spawning in the right bottom side is his opponent. It is Lilbow.
Lilbow he looks so funny, just look at him. His shirt is oversized, he's wearing a weird cap, he's got a pink keyboard like this guy. There is nothing normal about this guy. Much like many other franchises.
He's a great character though. I've always enjoyed having Lilbow around. At first I wasn't
super
really
cheeky, right?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect. But the moment that Lilbow walked up to me at one event and he said, "Roddy," I was like, "Yes." He's like, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes." He's like, "How do you do it?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "You're friends with Todd." And on that moment, I started to grow a liking to the kid. And I told him that, you know, despite everything, Johan is not all that bad. And he's like, "Really?" He's like, "He seems difficult." I was like, no, he's all right. And then he said, "I'll give it a try." And I was like, you know what, Lilbow's actually pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, he's special. But I think Stefano probably thinks the same and stuff of me. Definitely, you know, being between Frenchies, we always have that weird relationship.
And you're like a different generation than these kids, of course, as well. Yeah.
They need to show respect. And they don't.
The only respect they showed is when they took your ladder points, Todd.
All right, looks like standard openers there from both players. Lilbow, after this fail though, honestly, I thought this was looking pretty good. I really thought he was going to be able, perhaps not win on that attack, but do more damage, right?
That's
it
what
was
I
a
thought
perfect
as well.
defense. I think he had to blink in. After the first few bile, the second one were about to be shot, he should have blinked in. If he had instantly sniped, say 5 to 6 Ravagers, then they wouldn't have been enough to hold the force builds.
Yep.
They could have thrown down behind this, and then he would have snowballed with Stalker count.
You just mentioned the word respect. I think maybe he showed a little too much respect to those couple of Ravagers. And obviously it's always scary to go for a forward blink because you know you're committing yourself. But by just running away from corrosive bow, your Stalkers and Sentries are just not pushing out any damage. And it bought Snute the time that he wanted for those Lurkers to come out. So we see the Twilight count. So I'm expecting Resonating Glaives. But you know what I'm also thinking of, Todd? A Dark Shrine. Maybe both. Okay. You know, maybe he's opening up with the Resonating Glaives and then he's going to follow it up with a Dark Shrine.
I thought you were going to say you're still thinking of Snute's charades and trying to solve it.
Of Snute? Oh, no, I gave up on that one. I'll leave it to the kids at the Team Liquid forums. They'll probably like call me ridiculous for not knowing what he means.
Like next level, like Game of Thrones theories, like Illuminati.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we will find out. Whether Snute wins or
Will
loses.
we, though? Only if he wants.
No, but... Oh, yeah, that's true. What if he never tells us? I think it's a line of corrosive bow. I think that's what he was describing.
Okay.
But I have no idea. I don't know. It's hard, man. It's a nice riddle, though. Keeps us busy during the first few minutes of this game.
Whatever happened, actually, to all those, you know, Warp Prism, 7 Gateway, Adept attacks? Do you think they just don't work anymore, that nobody actually tries stuff like that?
Yeah, the Adepts got nerfed, you know, they don't have that +1 attack anymore. So, and against Zerg, I just feel that Zerg players got better, mostly in scouting. I feel that everything works at first because people just don't know how to scout it. I mean, you can go back all the way to the early days of Wings of Liberty. I remember having a conversation with Red, where Red swore to me, he's like, 4-gate will never fall out of fashion because it's literally impossible to scout and really hard to deal with. And I mean, you know,
well, when you only make drones, I bet that's...
yeah, exactly. And eventually, Red even admitted that he looked a little silly for telling me that. Because, you know, people did stop 4-gating. 7 roaches are on the production tab. Snute, seeing that Lilbow's going up to 3 bases, not only are he going to use these roaches to defend against the Adepts, thought, I think he's never going to stop making units, and he's going to try to deny the 3rd base of Lilbow. This is excellent. Look, these Adepts going to finish up, and roaches will pop. This is not good for Lilbow.
Yeah, if you cannot get at least, say, 10 to 15 drones, this could still be worth it, but behind this, there's just going to be so many units, and when you do this kind of Adept rush, you're neglecting Robo and any kind of immortal production. So in this case, the counter-attack could be deadly there.
You know what would be great as a follow-up? Double Stargate. Just make multiple void rays, keep your third base.
Yeah, I
alive.
remember Nani was doing a bunch of builds like this.
Yeah, Drogo did it for a while as well. It fell out of fashion, but I kind of like that style, you know, opening up with the adapts and resonating glaives and then following up. This is going to be a really hard
Or if he
hold.
was in position up the ramp, actually could force field a couple units.
Has no pylons there. Oh god, Lilbow is in a lot of trouble, man.
Feels
Like
bad,
Lynx,
man.
Yep, Lynx are going to swarm this army. Madashikor will scout the roaches.
There's only one pylon as well, so it's
Yeah.
not like he can, you know,
I'm
triple
very, very
overcharge.
worried. Very worried for Lilbow. 20 army supply against 51. Todd, Trollus players lie, Zerg players lie, but numbers don't lie.
Certainly not in StarCraft.
Nope.
And Snute can just gotta stand there and spam bile. In this case, he's actually gonna rush into the pylon, maybe try and get a quick snipe so that Lilbow wouldn't be able to reinforce. That's gonna go down so fast. And those Stalkers, they get a full surround.
Yeah, this is very bad. The sentries are in so much trouble. The stalkers are in a lot of trouble. All these units will get picked up and die. Most likely the Nexus will die, and there is a good chance that Lilbow is just going to give up, as he's not going to be able to keep this Nexus alive. Just a small mistake. He lost the adapts, and he didn't have pylons there on the high ground. You mentioned it, Todd. If he would have had those pylons there, then maybe he can buy time with force fields or photon overcharge. And attacking upper ramp is always so much harder for Zerg or for any race than it is to attack into a flat area.
Lilbow had a couple good series in this tournament. He beat Jim, who came all the way from China, but now this series is looking to last a little bit longer than his series against Life at BlizzCon, but it kind of looks the same in the end. He's getting swarmed every single time and not able to do enough.
It's unfortunate, because there were opportunities, both in Game 1 and even here in Game 2. I don't think the adapts did all that much, but at least he scouted. He could have seen the attack coming. And I think if he gets a pylon near the ramp, maybe buy some time and have attack building a little bit quicker, whether it's a Robo on the low ground or it's a Stargate. I know Stargate sounds weird, but I think if you're 100% sure that you're getting Roach Ravager all in, having a Void Ray or even Oracles can be very useful, or even multiple Phoenixes of double Stargate.
Well, you would have had to decide that before, right? Because you can't see the
while the adapts run across the map. But you need a follow-up anyway. I mean, you're not going to win with gateway units.
And looks like he wanted to re-expand, but Lilbow is now getting a Warp Prism. He should know by now that he's quite a bit behind, so I guess it's just going to be one last-ditch effort with the Warp Prism he's getting. He's going to move in with a lot of adepts, pray that Snute is making 100 drones red style against his feared 4-gate.
This is the
years later.
This is the desperation Protoss attack that we all make after we lose our Nexus. We're like, well, he kind of committed to that, right? Like maybe he doesn't have that many drones, and then you march to the other side of the map. You're like, God, he's got so many units.
Lilbow has had miracle comebacks. Remember
Hydra Game 3?
Yeah.
On Coda, yeah. I'll never forget that one.
That was pretty sick.
It's one of the craziest moments of 2015, that's for sure. And that allowed him to win that tournament as well. He's going to go for it. He's going to let the Adept finish up. Good position on these Ravagers. You saw that. Snute moved them back so he can let those corrosive balls rain from above. It's a pretty decent fight for Lilbow so far, but I just don't see a world where it's going to be enough.
Wow. Okay, he pulled his drone, but a little bit late there. But I don't think it will matter anyway. He has so many Ravagers anyway. Yeah, you can land the bile. You can dodge the bile. I mean, all day it's not going to matter because there's just too much, and Snute reinforcing much faster as well.
Yep, and you can't let the Warp Prism just sit there, because now corrosive ball will go down on this Warp Prism. Yep, he has to recall.
Well, I mean, recall is dead as well.
Yeah.
So GG.
Well played by Snute. Excellent counter-attack after he dealt with the adapts, and he didn't really lose all that much. I mean, only losing 3-4 drones against 5-6 adapts with resonating glaives, that's a lot easier said than done, Todd. Like, I don't know if you ever played Zerg. I played Zerg a couple times, and suddenly I realized how much of a nuisance adapts can be, and you see it, you know, on all levels. Especially once the Protoss is better than the Zerg. You know, if you watch Knee play, for instance, against any of the other North American Zergs, it's like, holy hell, like adapts look so overpowered. But Snute,
Speaking of which, by the way,
yeah,
the next PvZ is Neve against Hydra.
It's gonna be sick. Yep, the final of DreamHack Austin. So many reoccurring matchups this tournament.
I mean, like, let's be honest, the best players, they will often go find tournaments and play against each other, but it feels like in this tournament, actually, there is more matches where that happens.
Yeah,
or like you see these rivalries and rematches and all that, so quite happy with this, I have to say. Like,
yeah, we got a little bit of everything. I mean, we've got a 14-year-old in the quarterfinal. Later today, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Ilias Saturi Stefano, going up against Marine Lord.
I tell you where we don't have a Terran in the top 8. It's going to be for Marine Lord later to try and achieve that.
And that's the answer to the people at home wondering why Nathanius is not here. He saw it coming, guys. Nathan was unhappy with the queen change. He said, no Terran is going to make it to the top 8. I'm staying home.
I'll be the one Terran streaming.
Yep. He said, you know what? I'm siding with Avillo. I'm making a stand over here. If I'm going to all these tournaments, they won't believe me that Terran's in, but I'm staying home. Well, Nate, you were right.
I don't know if it went like that, but...
I think it went like that. What else could it be, Todd? What else could Nathaniel Fabricant possibly be doing right now?
I don't know, maybe he just wanted to stream for a little bit.
That's possible.
Maybe passion was overwhelming him once again. All right, we're in map 3. These gentlemen on the bottom right-hand side here, of Frost, playing as the Red Zerg, is of course Liquid Snute. On match points.
Hey, Marine Lord is still alive, you know.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, Marine Lord later on will have the opportunity to be V1 Terran to try and qualify for the quarterfinals.
Over here on the left bottom side, it's everything or nothing for this man, the best foreigner of 2015. It's Millennium's Lilbow. Made it to BlizzCon last year. You know, Todd, in a crazy world where he turns this series around, wins it 3-2, then wins the entire tournament, then qualifies for Montreal and wins that too, he could still make it to BlizzCon again.
Yeah, that would be the day. Make sure he practices for StarCraft 3 in the meantime.
Oh.
That meme was actually pure savage too, because he was just like kind of being really honest about it too.
Yeah.
Right? And I totally understand that. I've been in this position many times. You know, I've played Warcraft and the Frozen Throne. Whenever there is an expansion coming, it's actually very hard to find practice on the one game that's, you know, the older one. Because everybody will want to move on to the new expansion quicker and stuff. So
yeah, we
I definitely sympathized with him whenever that happened.
We saw that with Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Storm as well. The moment that like the last announced Wings of Liberty tournament happened, that's when everybody switched to the beta of Heart of the Storm, and nobody really wanted to play Wings of Liberty anymore. And there were still a couple of people that had a Wings of Liberty tournament coming up, and they were pretty vocal about it too, just finding it very hard to find practice partners because everybody was preparing for HOTS.
Yeah. But at the same time, though, you qualify for BlizzCon. I guess you got to practice a bunch for it.
Yeah, but you know, it is what it is. It's history. I don't think we have to go over it too much anymore. And I mean, I do still think that Lilbow has reached a very promising level in Legacy of the Void. I genuinely believe he got a little bit unlucky in a couple of the tournaments he attended. He lost multiple big series, 2-3.
Maybe he's not satisfied with his level in Legacy of the Void compared to Heart of the Swarm, where he was like basically the best foreigner for quite a bit.
Obviously, he's not. I mean, he's absolutely not happy. But yeah, I think he got a little bit unlucky as well. Of course, at the end of the day, StarCraft is a skill game, but having a little bit of momentum or having a little bit of luck or like avoiding a certain race in a certain part of the bracket can definitely allow you sometimes to make a deep run. But luck has not been on Lilbow's side so far in Legacy of the Void. But there was a small time where he was dominating the French scene, and I think if you're dominating the French scene, that already means that you're very, very good, because that means that you're beating the Daishis, the Drogos, the Marine Lords, the Young Tots.
Yeah, actually, it was funny because even then, when he was a rising player over in France, he was already saying that his goal was to be the best foreigner. Eventually, he achieved that, which in itself, you know, there is quite a few players that say that.
Yeah,
not all of them get to achieve it, right?
I know all about that.
Twilight Council, where is it exactly that he put it?
Hiding it.
Okay, not particularly, you know, very hidden, very far in the back of his base, but since Pneumatized Carapace is being made, it's going to be a very easy scout here for Snute. I really love that Snute made this adjustment. It was so frustrating to watch Snute not scout time after time and sometimes getting surprised and losing to, you know, an all-in or something like that.
Yeah, I guess he just found the right resources in his build orders to make it work. You know, imagine if he would have done, by the way, what I predicted last game, if he would have gone for that, you know, 3 Gateway, Adept, Resonating Glaives pressure, but then have a quick Dark Shrine behind it, which is something that Lilbow has done in the past. He used to use it on the map with the 2 gold bases. I forgot the name of it. My memory has been bad lately when it comes to map names, but Lilbow actually did it multiple times on that map, and it worked out kind of well. And if he would have had it last game, he could have had Dark Templars to deal with the roaches. No, not funny. Very recent, the brown map. Very popular for a long time.
Did not see that one coming, much like versus live. I feel savage to mention this, but
it's
you should know when this is coming, right? Like, I don't think the Zergling drop should be surprising opponents that much. Like one pylon on the right-hand side would help a lot here.
No wall-off over here either, Todd. That's very unfortunate. A couple of links are going to run by. Snute doing a really good job, and Lilbow's falling apart a little bit. He's not supposed to take this much damage against just Zerglings. Yeah, Snute knows now as well that this is going phenomenal for him. The only mistake that Snute could make is over-droning. Look at these links, Todd, just going to town. God, this is a massacre. Already 11 workers ahead.
Getting a couple roaches. And Lair's about to finish. Snute, no matter what happens in all of his games, he's been rushing to there pretty fast. As opposed to, you know, say versus Terrans, sometimes He delays that a little bit more. Here against Protoss, he seems to want to get to lair very, very fast whenever he can.
Multiple roaches are on the way. I'm not sure what Lilbow is supposed to do. Obviously, once again, this is very similar, guys, to Frozen Temple. Lilbow needs a follow-up, just adapts with resonating up glaives. Phenomenal against workers and good against links. Not very good against roaches and ravagers. He needs more. Overseer is morphing. I think Snute is a tiny bit worried about maybe a Dark Templar follow-up, like I predicted, but it's actually not going to be the case at all.
Yeah. There's no Dark Shrine that was made there. It's going to cancel that transfer. And Snute being on 42 drones against 38 probes is, I guess, a little bit ahead economically. Making actually some panic spores right now, even though he has an Overseer. I don't really like that.
+1 missile attacks starting for Snute as well. Snute is going to be loving life. He's up 2-0, and game number 3 here on Frost started off phenomenally. I'm a little bit sad, Todd. I'm not going to lie. I really would have loved to see Lilbow do well here. Or at least pick up a map or two, you know, put up one out of a fight.
Yeah.
It all started so well game 1.
I mean, everybody wanted to see 40 maps being played today.
Yeah, I know. What is this? Like, now the highest we could possibly have is 35. I feel like, does it even count as the day of StarCraft?
Yeah, not really. We need a few draws.
Couple Zerglings being dropped in the main this time. Adepts are in the right position for Lilbow. He's going to be able to take care of it, but, you know, Snute is still in a phenomenal spot. He's up in workers. He's up in army supply. Roach speed is about to finish up. Lilbow is going to do something a little bit similar to what he did game number 1. But, of course, in game number 1, he had a great start. On this map, however, not that much. You know, maybe if Snute refuses to make a Hydra then and never goes Lurkers and only relies on Roaches, well, it's a Spire.
Sure.
You know, as crazy as this sounds, I feel like this is the best case scenario for Lilbow. Because I think with his Stalkers against Lurkers, he would have been super dead. But maybe against Roaches, Ravagers, perfect force fields, and then Blink Stalker control against the Middleist.
I think Snute is not really checking whether Lilbow is retaking that third base. He's about to do that. And that's very important information, because if you don't see a third base there, you only make units, which right now is what he's doing anyway. Okay, Ravager being morphed, more links. Yeah, Snute's doing this right. I think he knows that Lilbow at this point, he's gotten desperate times, Roddy. Call for desperate measures, and he's going to be another one of those big attacks here in a second.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have that many force fields, but I still, like, this is not the worst. Considering how this game started, I really feel like this could have all gone a little bit worse.
He's going to have a time warp to work with.
Yeah, time warp's really bad these days, though. It's just one sentry. If he had a few more sentries, then maybe it was possible. He's going to drop a couple of force fields. We'll avoid the balls for now. Snute is going to clean up these force fields. Snute actually not paying attention, losing 1 or 2 roaches for almost nothing. The Ravager a little bit exposed. Snute, what are you waiting for? I guess there's more units and more corrosive balls. There is a time warp. Johan, can Lilbow make this work? It's 50 army supply against 76, but maybe with the best Blink Stalker micro ever, it's doable.
Yeah, he's going to need nothing less than that. Bile starts landing there, and the Ravager count is not being hit in any way, so Lilbow keeps on having to pull back against the Bile that's being spanned. More reinforcements are coming in faster here from Snute.
He canceled the Nexus, correct?
Yeah, he's not going for it. So this is all in, and it looks like it might be defended here by Snute, who wants to move on to the quarterfinals here with a very convincing 3-0 win over Lilbow. There's just too much.
Too much Zerg.
Like the French Protoss is not going to have enough. Good game, good luck, good fighting. Takes it pretty well.
Yeah, nice words there from Lilbow. Obviously has a lot of respect for Snute. Both of them super successful players in the foreign scene. Just in this day and age, it proves to be that Snute is a little too good when it comes to ZvP.
Do you see that behind him? It's like the Terran hating corner with Marine Lord and Eternal just like smiling at me and laughing and hating in the back.
I did not see it, but I mean, excellent series by Snute. I feel this is kind of one of these series that it just speaks forward. I feel game number 1 was already a breaking point in this series. Lilbow had a great start. I really felt that things were going the way that he would have wished. Was going for an attack, and then maybe should have just be a little more crazy, a little more YOLO, as we sometimes say in the StarCraft scene. I know it's a stupid word, but should have just gone for it, you know, like roll the dice. You're playing against Snute. You know that he's the favorite. Maybe you want to take a risk. Go for a crazy blink, see how it pays off. But the longer he waited, the more ready Snute was to deal with that attack, and I feel from the moment that Snute kept his fourth base alive on apotheosis, I feel everything went this way in all the games.
I really like the way Snute played in the whole series here. Every single time he had to defend, he was on point, starting with map number 1 here in that game. I think he realized very early as well what was going to happen because of everything, you know, that previously happened, basically. Yeah, the link drop doing damage, doing enough damage to force the cancel on the third Nexus. He knew that Lilbow probably was going to get desperate, so all he made was units. And again, perfect mix of Ravagers. He didn't make too many, he didn't make too few. Roaches and Zerglings to reinforce and get in there really fast, perfect defense, and then from there just a 3-0 win.
If people wonder why does Blinkstalker Sentry not work the same in Legacy of the Void as it did in Heart of the Swarm, I think that this series is your answer. It's Ravagers, it's obviously eventually Lurkers, but Ravagers change everything. It's not just the fact that they can break force field, it's not just the fact they do area of effect damage, they force Stalkers to run away all the time, and the moment that Stalkers run away, they're obviously not shooting, which means that things are not going well.
That's a lot more replays for Pig to do some dailies on. This tournament is like the dream tournament for Pig. He's gonna go home, he's gonna have like 200 replays to make VODs from with like all the Zerg wins. Because we've got, is that a 5th Zerg in the quarterfinals?
No, 4th. Showtime made it to the quarterfinals.
Okay.
We got 2 more to go.
All right. I think Snute is with Mix and ready to answer some questions. So let's head on to the couch with Mix City and the Skyline of Nerds.
Thank you, Todd. We do have Snute. And Snute, I have to ask you straight away. Yesterday when I spoke with you and, you know, we raised the possibility of you playing Lilbow, you were very humble, as you always are. You said, you know, I don't know if it's going to be... Because we knew that Lilbow this was his last tournament in StarCraft 2 and whatnot, you were like, oh, it should be straightforward for you. And you were like, no, you know, it could be hard. But this was a very convincing 3-0.
Is this his last tournament?
As far as I've heard, because
I
thought this was.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it didn't feel like the ordinary Lilbow. Like his skill dropped a little in transitioning to Legacy, but even in Legacy, he's shown way stronger PvC than what he showed today in practice.
Okay.
And in tournament as well, I suppose.
Well, either way, you are moving on to the top 8. I guess that series was pretty straightforward, so there's not much to say. Is there anything you want to bring up?
Me?
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, very well played. And how are you feeling about your next match? You know your next opponent?
Yeah, Raynor.
Yeah, how'd you feel about that?
Actually, before you answer, I need to tell you what he said about you. I did mention, because I was looking at his Twitter, and I told Raynor, I said, I noticed that you talked about how you have beaten Snute in a Go for SC2 tournament. So, you know, and he said, I feel pretty comfortable against Snute. I'm really comfortable with my ZvZ right now. So on the flip side, what is your response to that?
I think he's a pretty strong player. He has some things in his playstyle, like his constant counterattacking and circling usage, which can catch people. It can catch people off guard. I don't necessarily agree with the playstyle itself, but it's definitely scary if you haven't faced something like it before. And I think the way he executes this style is pretty strong as well.
I just thought it was interesting because he first defeated Mana, and then he just defeated Vortex.
Yeah,
and then he'll be playing you, so it's just like he's just plowing through Liquid right now.
Yeah, he's trying to eliminate my team, but that's...
Yeah, he's trying to earn the nickname of Liquid Killer, but...
And you two together knocked out 3 Liquid players, because you knocked out Bunny as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys just...
Oh my god, both of you together.
Yeah,
well, I guess to be fair, Liquid team kills seem to be a commonplace thing to happen at these tournaments.
Seems that Snute does do a lot of the killing too.
Yeah, sometimes.
Actually, there's still TLO left though as well. So
yes, I'm really happy about this.
Yeah, TLO's been playing well this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
But wait, and before we get too carried away, I need to ask you because there was this one moment where after you won map 1, you looked straight into the camera and I think you went like...
Yeah, it's an inside joke. I cannot explain it on stream.
Wait, you can't explain the inside joke, but you can do this to the camera?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be inappropriate.
It's inappropriate.
So it's lewd. It's a lewd joke.
Yeah.
That's enough for me.
I think everyone knows now. All right, we'll leave it at that. I just wanted to make Snute uncomfortable. I wanted to see what would happen, but okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm very uncomfortable when I play against Protoss already, so it's fine. You know, I'm used to it.
How are you feeling about your current shape? Like the Queen buff obviously was a patch that helped you quite a bit. Like your style against Terrans, I know there aren't really that many Terrans left in the tournament.
This is another one of Muslim's attempts to get you to mention how strong Queens are on the couch.
But Snute is a guy that's, he was utilizing Queens a lot before. They're a good unit.
Yeah, I didn't use them as much in ZvP, so perhaps I should start using them even more in ZvP. Okay. But you can't, they're not as effective in ZvP as they are in CVT, sadly.
Okay, but like overall shape, how are you feeling?
I feel, it's weird. Like Protoss is so complicated. It's the most strategically taxing matchup of all the certain matchups, I feel. Like CVT isn't very strategic in comparison. CVC has quite a bit of depth to it, but ZvP is just insane in comparison. So I feel very shaky in ZvP still, and I think the reason why I looked so strong against Lilbow now was that he perhaps didn't practice as much, you know, Overwatch and all. And I also anticipated his style. And it's way easier for me to adapt. Like, for example, when I prepared against Zest in the online Kung Fu Cup, like scenarios like that are very simple for me. But it's very difficult to play someone who has a very broad spectrum of styles, you know? Someone like Showtime, Harstem, Wellmove, people that can do basically anything is really complex for me.
So how's your ZvZ? Because Protoss isn't a match you'll have to play until the final if you make it that far.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
CVC, it's still, I don't feel as dominant as I used to be in Heart of the Swarm.
Okay.
Legacy is very complicated, and on top of this, we got the new maps now. That's going to make things a bit more troublesome. I don't feel as strong in CVC as I do in CVT, but it's, you know, it's up there. It's average. It's okay.
It's average. Oh, that's nice and humble of you.
I
know what that really means in Snute language.
Of my matchups, my CVP is my worst, and CVC is average in between.
Okay. CVT is your best?
CVT is the best.
All right, all right. Well, now I'm sure you know how the bracket looks. You know who your potential matchups might be. How do you feel about your side of the bracket?
I think both sides of the bracket have some very troublesome scenarios for me. That would be CvP against both Showtime and Neeb. I never managed to consistently do well against them, so I think if I run into one of them, it's most likely going to be a bit of a roadblock. If I get only CVC, then anything can happen. I've defeated Hydra before, and it's CVC, so anything can happen there. And top half, I do hope that TLO makes it far, of course. So yeah, I guess I'm just hoping for CVCs as far as possible. Or perhaps the best scenario probably would be to face Marine Lord. He's still in, right? So.
Yeah, he's got a Stefano in his bracket.
Yeah, that'll be coming up later today.
Then the winner of Neeb and Hydra.
Yeah.
So it's quite a tough bracket.
So Marine Lord has a really tough bracket, but I would love to face Marine Lord.
Well, speaking of Neeb and Hydra, that is the match that will be coming up after this break, and it should be a good one as it is a rematch. The two have butted heads, so we'll see who comes out on top after this.